So we'll start by taking a moment to close our eyes. Feet on the floor, both feet. Hands resting right on your thighs. Just let everybody settle in. Take a few deep breaths and just start to tune into the space and the resonance here. This does serve as a place of worship, so I just want to take a moment to settle into that. And keep your eyes closed for a few moments. We'll close with a formal meditation, but for now, I just want you to hear my words without seeing my face. In order to talk about parenting from a spiritual perspective, we have to first come to a common understanding of what spirituality is together. And so for the purpose of this talk, spirituality we will define as alertness, awareness, presence, which leads inexorably to equanimity. What's interesting about that definition of spirituality is that it is really challenging for us, either as parents or as children of parents, to show up with that alertness and that equanimity with the closest people in our lives. With total strangers, we can be incredible and alert and awake and present. And then with those closest to us, it's a battlefield for those qualities. And so I'm devoting this time to seeing the privilege that it is to find our way back to a spirituality with regards to our own families. Not just if you have children, but with regards especially, for the purpose of this talk, with regards to your parents, whether they are alive or gone. So take a moment to bring your chin to your chest and just honor your family of origin. I do this a lot when I teach, and it's really important to practice doing it so that it becomes natural and neutral. In no way is this moment of honoring of our family of origin obligatory. It will eventually become, with practice, exactly like your yoga, a way for us to evolve any lack of alertness, any lack of equanimity, any lack of presence that was present in our family, in honor of our family. That is the mission, and that is the privilege. Very gently, you may open your eyes whenever you feel called to do so. In order to evolve the lack of equanimity in any way, we're evolving traits, we're evolving habits, we're evolving tendencies. We're evolving all the things that we think we took from our parents that were their fault. Okay, so I'm going to stick with our parents for a little while because that's really where we have to put our focus first if we're going to be great parents. The only way to evolve all these traits is to understand them better. We all know this. The only way to really get great at a yoga practice is to really understand how it works, welcome, how it mechanically plays out in our bodies. That's the only way we get to understand the practice and really become these forms to a point of healing. We need to understand, must understand, that our parents did what they did because that was all they knew. They really did not have another option. They really did not have another possibility. Even if it seemed in the story like they did, they really didn't. And to come to that place of seeing that reality, of seeing the actuality of the fact that they really did love us that way, we begin to look at the whole concept of love differently. Raise your hand if you still have something you're holding against your parents. Really, please. Okay? There's a lot of us. It's nothing to be ashamed about. My mission on this planet is to get there to be no hands raised. Our kids are soaking up every theory that we have about our parents. And this is a really big deal for humanity. Because if we don't clean up the way we see our parents and the way we judge our parents and the way they looked at love, at self-worth, at practice of any kind, we are perpetuating judgment and fear and contraction. And our kids, no matter what we say, are taking only that with them. They're not taking any of our words, they're taking that feeling that we have deep inside that we never say. That's what they're absorbing. And so the opportunity here is to really learn that our kids are bathing in all of our assumptions all the time. And if we don't clean up our assumptions, especially with regards to our parents, we are going to see that staring us in the face. Exactly how you think about your parents right now is exactly what they are going to think about you. And that is a scary concept for most of us. So if you're feeling like it's getting, the air is getting thick and heavy in here, you are in a very good place, because that means that you are touching on what you need to clean up with your own folks. And that's a beautiful thing. And again, I reiterate that if they are already gone from this planet, this work is still possible. You can still take a week. I will repeat this later in the talk. You can still take a week and go somewhere and go super, super quiet and listen, because they're still communicating with you. They will give you the answers. The big trick to this work is actually to start to get really interested. Wouldn't you like your child, when your child is 5, 6, 10, 15, to be interested in your story? Yes? What's your story? I want to know what your story is, Mom. So we get to do that for our parents, like reporters, even if they're gone. We get to listen for them. So what we're doing is really evolving our lineage. We're healing our relationship to our parents so that nobody else gets to have this shit in their space going forward. And the key to the entire enterprise of parenting from a more sort of spiritual vantage point, if such a word were possible in my terms, more alert vantage point, is to learn how to communicate with them without getting offended, without taking it personally. Nothing is personal, and every single yoga teacher, whether they've said it out loud or not, has taught you that. Nothing is personal. Everything comes from one vantage point. Mine, yours, Chelsea's, one. The kicker of all of this is that we actually chose our parents, exactly. How many of you are willing to believe that? So my aim is to get every hand up for that one. We chose our parents, we chose the lessons, we chose them exactly, we chose all the siblings we had, we chose the crazy shit that went on in our house. We chose it perfectly so that we could learn exactly what we learned, so that we could then teach that. Teach that to other people. How to get through that, teach that to other people, how to get through that, how to be an example for our parents, how to teach that to our parents. How many of you would like very much to have had a parent who really taught you something? I now know that I did. For years I was like, well, maybe. And the truth is that every single one of us learned exactly what we came here to learn from exactly those two humans, whether they were in our lives or not. And whoever raised us, we learned exactly what we came to learn from them, just as we did. So anytime I really get into a place where I'm vexed and I'm confused and I can't wrap my mind around a concept, I go to science. There's a book called A General Theory of Love, which I've been looking at for a while, and it teaches about limbic regulation and limbic resonance. And so the phenomenon of limbic resonance helps to explain why we really only learn what we saw and heard and felt. Really only that. That's what we learn. And what's interesting about it is that our very earliest emotional intelligence is actually shaped by not how we saw, but emotional intelligence is shaped by how our parents or caregivers saw. Okay, think about how a kid falls. You know, when they fall, they're like 2, 3 years old, 1, 2, they fall. They don't actually have a reaction. They look to the parent. And if the parent is cuckoo and losing it and not present, the parent has a huge reaction. Oh my God! The kid starts bawling and tripping. If the parent is cool, all right, dude, work it out. The kid works it out, gets up, keeps on rolling. Our relationship to that fact has to get very strong, okay? Because everything that we do now, whether you have kids or no kids, whether you have friends, colleagues, employers, employees, everything that we do now is being absorbed by all the people around us, limbically. Feel it? Somebody's in a bad mood next to you, like, dang. Somebody's in a great mood across the room, you can feel it, and you are impacted by it. True? About 12 years ago, when I finally started to take in some pretty serious teachings and really deal with them, albeit resistant, I learned a quote that I did not believe at the time, but I wrote it down and I put it in a very special place. Love thy parents and thou wilt love me. And indeed, whoever does not love his parents cannot love God. Before we go any further, let us pause and ask ourselves, did we love our parents? Did we love them as they deserved? And how should we have loved? These are humans. We cannot keep our parents separate from us if we want to call ourselves divine. We can't. And if we want to raise a divine child, we cannot do this anymore. To make this happen, for most of us, and I definitely acknowledge that not all of us actually need to do this. Some of us have done this already, and some of us just had an amazing experience of growing up, and that is awesome. But to do this, we really do owe several apologies. I would say 99% of humans. And again, whether your parents are present on this planet or not, there is an incredible opportunity to not begrudgingly apologize, but to see with a great deal of love in your eyes and your heart that you really did choose to take from whatever was slung your way what you took and perpetuate it. You chose that. I chose that. So when I see my kid, who's now almost 6, slamming a fucking door in my face when he was 3, boom! 3-year-olds don't know how to do that. I created that. I can't go, well, it was my parents' fault. No, I took that and ran with it. And now my privilege is I got to go apologize to my family and say, oh my God, I am so sorry that I took that and perpetuated it and blamed you. I am sorry. And this is a formal, beautiful, insanely blameless apology letter that is in writing right now, that is lighting me up. When people say that, oh my God, you look so good, you look so bright, it's because I'm writing my letter to my mom and to my dad. To thank them, to apologize for the shit that I took and all the times I blamed them. As horrific as it was, we have to really come to the understanding that we chose consciously or unconsciously to take what we took from our house and perpetuated it for as long as we have. And there can be no blame anymore. That everyone's hand should be raised when I say that you are holding nothing against your parents. Everybody should be raising your hands proudly. This time will come. And so that we can actually evolve the whole human race by doing this for our kids and for their kids. How do we really clean it all up? There are two things that we have to do. And what's fun is that I was writing this and I was saying, this is what we have to do for our kids. And, you know, it's really important that this happens for our children. But really, we have to do this first for our parents. The talk really did evolve into this. One, and you can keep in your mind that you're going to do this for your children, you're going to do this for your friends, you're going to do this for your siblings, you're going to do this for your grandparents, anybody who's still lingering in your space as some kind of issue. Recognize them for who they are out loud or in writing, even if they're gone. Speak it, write it, feel it. I see you, Mom, I see you as a beautiful example of what is possible on this planet in terms of loving your child. I see your struggle, I see your pain, and just expanding that into detail so that your mom will know that you are seeing her unequivocally, and that will come back to you from your child. You will not believe how quickly. If you have children, and if you don't have children, you'll see it coming back to you and your friends. You'll see it in their eyes. You'll see it in your lover. The minute you start to clean things up with your parents, everything lights up. Everything opens up. Resistance so far? Anybody feeling resistance? Raise your hand. No, be honest. It's cool. It's cool. Clinical insanity is a real thing, and drug abuse is a very real thing. Just keep that in mind. Okay? We're dealing with first world problem. Why we're holding on to these emotions that are creating contractions in our body and getting us sick. Okay? The second thing we have to do, and I actually want to read to you the recognize them for who they are, because it's a beautiful paragraph for which I cannot take credit. If we see and know that they are powerful and sophisticated spiritual beings. Can you imagine saying this to your parents? I see you and I know that you are a powerful and sophisticated spiritual being. And we relate to them that way from the beginning. We never need to hide our power again, nor do they. We never need to lose touch with our spirit, and nor do they. Because the air is clear. The second thing is we can create and be an example of how to live. Again, this is not just for your kids, although this is for your kids. This is really for your parents first. Now think about this. How often, in my own example, very often have I said, I don't want to have to be the teacher. I don't want to have to be the parent. I don't want to have to be the example. Lazy, scared brat. Okay, what really needs to happen is I really do have access to the teachings. I really can be the one who turns the ship around, and I really can, without lecturing, because I've made that mistake for over 10 years. Sorry, Mom. Sorry. But just by being the example, we have such an impact, and we really can change the way everybody around us sees the world. Just by being an example of alertness, of presence, of equanimity, spirituality, without saying the word, because we scare people. Okay? Are you proud? And this is the question that goes along with number 2, really being the example. Are you really proud of who you are in every moment? Really, really, really? This was a very critical part for me. The closest people are watching how we live, and they are imitating us. And if we go into yoga and say we're doing yoga, going to a festival, and then come home and act like an ass, what happens to the yoga? How does that all play itself out for those people? We have a responsibility as practitioners of this teaching, of yoga, of union, to make sure that we are unity within ourselves. In honor of our family and all the shit that went down. So that they know what they're getting into if they were to deign to maybe try. So, just to really bring that point home, if I remain, this is an expression, and you'll pardon my language, there's really no better way to say this, but if I remain in my heart a big fuck you to my parents, and then I tell my kid, hey, let's go visit Mimi and Papa. Guess what he picks up on? And guess, for the past, I would say 6 to 10 months, he's been having an aversion to my mom, because I was. He's like, oh, let's go visit Mimi and Papa. And he'd go, and he'd be like, I don't want to be near Mimi. And it's all living, this is what's living in me. I'm trying to get to the point where I can write this letter and really feel it and really mean it and really take all the blame out of the equation. And he is acting it out. And I, the big faker, am pretending like it's not there. Anyone else guilty of this? Pretending it's all cool with your family and say, yeah, it's great. I love my family. They're great. Yeah? Yeah? There is a process that I want to point out of learning how to do this that actually will play itself out in the most beautiful ways in everything that we do. It was presented to me by my life coaches, and they are from the Handel group, and they are amazing. And I'll break it down into 3 steps, but really there's much more, and I just want you guys to get a sense of what the work entails so that you can really start to wrap your mind around what's possible. This is a potent group of people who want to learn, so that's why I want to share it with you. One is we have to see where we're still hiding secrets about our families and therefore being held by them. If you have any shame about anything that happened in your house, to you or to somebody else, if it was something you saw or felt or heard, that has you hostage, straight up. I've said it before and I will keep saying it until the whole world has heard. The most important thing that we can do is speak the secrets. Yes, there were 4 times in my child's life where I picked him up too hard. I threw him on the bed twice. I moved him on the couch one time, and the other time I squeezed him so hard that I saw my nails in his back. I will keep saying that until it stops. I have not done it since I said it out loud. I am not proud. But the more I say it, the farther away it goes from me. It doesn't happen anymore. As soon as I was able to say it out loud, it was gone. The minute it gets to even remotely close to that place, I'm like, Jonah, I love you, but I'm getting really frustrated. I'm going to go over there because I don't know how to solve this thing. Just for now. but I love you. And that's the best that I can do. I don't want to be that person anymore. I don't want to take that little thing that was done and perpetuate it any further than this. My child will not have this issue because of my work, because of my willingness to say that out loud to whomever will listen. The second thing we have to see, and that's obvious from number one, is that lineage repeats. If you think about the big, big things that happen in your life to you, okay? Really think about it. You will see that if you go and interview your parents, or even if they're gone and you sit with them in the quiet of a meditation for a week, you will see that you have just repeated what happened to them in some very interesting iteration, some other way. Is this resonating with anybody? All the way from number of pregnancies to miscarriages to tempers to anxiety to habitual criticism. All repeats. A couple of examples. I've taught a couple of parenting workshops, and there was one mom who was telling me, and it was early on in my teaching of this method, so I was a little taken aback and worried that I didn't have an answer, and I deferred to my teacher. She said, you know, there's an issue that I'm having with my 13-year-old. She sends nude pictures of herself to an online predator. I really cannot have a reaction. I'm really like, wow, that's a doozy. I hear stories all the time. I fall in love with people all the time because their stories are so touching and poignant and crazy and real. This one is crazy. Wow. Tell me about you when you were 13. What was your life like? Well, you know, I kind of marginalized myself, and I was kind of a loner. I didn't really trust anybody, and, you know, so I had sort of imaginary friends. And all of a sudden it started to get real for her, that she was just, in not talking about what her feelings were when she was an adolescent at her child's age, she was giving her child her feelings of lack and fear and alone. She was handing it to her because she wasn't talking about it, fearlessly sharing the secret that she was holding. Okay? Another example, one mom's big secret was that she was ashamed of her jealousy and competitiveness with her daughter, and she couldn't even put her finger on it, like, why do I even feel this way? I don't understand. And sure enough, realizes after a couple of questions, because we've so buried most of this stuff, that actually her own mom did the same thing to her. She had this very particular, nothing sexual or insidious, she had a very particularly close relationship with her dad, which her mom didn't have. And so her mom was constantly kind of on her, and she kind of started to feel this thing that was lurking in the back of her body for so long that she couldn't explain why her daughter was she was having the exact same feelings about her kid, and her daughter was acting the exact same way that she was. It's all, give me any example and I will show you how it's just some form of what happened already, until we evolve it, talk about it, move it, shift it, choose it differently. We get to have a giggle at the fact that we think we know our parents. We don't. You think you know your parents? You kind of, good. No hands went up. So here's the assignment. And now I do have coaches, and I do have people that help me, and I do recommend, sort of like I'm not a doctor, but I play one on TV. Like, get a coach to help you with this, because it's really important that you have somebody who really does see the satellite view of your whole family and all the different dynamics that happen. It helps so much. I moved stuff in a month that I should have taken 10 years and was taking 10 years. There's a whole interview process that you can do with your family. All your siblings, your family, your parents, their kids, your siblings' kids. And start to really learn, like, who are you? Why are you breathing on this planet? Tell me your love story. Tell me how you came to love me. Anything. And your coaches will help you find all the questions based on your story, but this is the hugest honor that I have had. Pages and pages of notes. And I'm doing these interviews every couple of years now because it feels so good and just like, did I miss anything? And Jonah will get to know these stories, my kid. There is a slightly longer and really important quote from one of my teachers, Lee Lozowick. And I want to read this to you because I think it's really important that as many people as possible hear this. It's 2 paragraphs, and please stay with it. If you want to close your eyes, you may. In addition to how we relate with each other in front of our children, and you could put in parents for kids too, okay? Or friends or anybody. There is the question of our attitude and speech about our mates, families, and friends when they are not present, but our children are, okay? If we carefully avoid criticizing or blaming our children, but then vent our negativity and resentful criticism of our mate, for example, other family members, friends, associates, co-workers, in front of our children, we cannot help but create an atmosphere of fear and division for them. Okay? Here's what happens. They will naturally be afraid that we talk about them with the same contempt when they are not with us. Friends too, guys, gossiping is not allowed on any Delta flight. It's over. It has to be over. It has to be over because nobody will trust you. And they will be forced into a position of choosing between the people they love, who are the foundations of security and trust in their lives. They'll have to choose between them. Imagine, just like you did. Remember? They must either reject us for our criticalness or reject the other parent as deserving of such criticism. Did anyone else have that happen? They will inevitably also see us, and not inaccurately, as dishonest and hypocritical people who teach kindness and compassion in words, but who practice divisive criticism. We do not want this on this planet, you guys. If, on the other hand, we practice forbearance and loving kindness in relation to our mates and friends and other adults, our children will learn from the model we offer. This does not mean that we will be absolutely perfect. None of us are. I have fucked up so many times. But the key to this work is apologizing, is coming clean, is owning what you do as soon as possible. What is essential for us is to be responsible, is to, if we slip into negative manifestations such as angry criticism of another adult, we own this error with our children. We own this error with our friends. We own this error with our employers, our employees, our colleagues. We own this error with our students, those of you who teach. This gives them a model for self-observation and a fearless inspiration to continue the work on themselves. This does not mean that there's not a time for open and honest communication. It is always time for that. And yes, there are certain people, there is clinical insanity, there is drug abuse, there is addiction, there are real circumstances that we have to circumvent and work with, for sure. But barring those, the possibility for all of us is that we get to model authentic human behavior for all people, not just children, for all humans near us, and be an example, a true example. No lying. No saying you read the book when you didn't read the book. No. We're basically creating our friends and our kids and our colleagues and our coworkers. We're creating our contexts with our own perceptions. We have to remember this. And we have to remember that it is so important to get comfortable with apologizing, to get comfortable with asking more questions, to get comfortable with owning where you definitely know that you have fallen short, and begin again. My boyfriend, who is one of the biggest inspirations for me in parenting his son, Jensen, who I now consider my stepson, is 12. And he said, he comes out with the most ridiculous one-liners, and he said, the only place I will ever look to make my kid a better kid is inside of myself. And that is, I think, the best way to close this. So thank you. Thank you. And I am super glad to answer maybe one or two questions, I think.
We definitely have some questions. We have a microphone that Christine will bring around. I know it's intimidating to talk with the microphone, but it's for the camera feed, so we have to clean audio on that. So feel free to put up your hand. Christine will bring the microphone to you.
And then once we're done with a couple of questions, what I'd like to do is just take us out with a meditation so that we can close the space in the right way, because this is a lot. This is a lot. If anybody has any questions, please let me know.
Hi, Elena, thank you.
You won't hear yourself. It's just for
Okay. My question is, when you go to the person and you apologize and you're trying to clear the space, are you clearing the space just for yourself? Because if the person that you're trying to apologize to isn't in the right frame of mind to understand that and to clear it and to move through it like you're wanting to, how does that
It's a great question.
take place?
It's the one that always gets asked.
Thank you.
Was everybody able to hear the question? Okay. So what if you go to apologize to somebody and they actually don't have the context or the in any way feel safe taking the apology? It's so much more for us than it is for them, that whole line of thinking, which has merit and value. The most important thing in writing my letter to my mom, which is really a year-long process of getting this, probably 5-6 pages right. It's sort of like writing a business plan for the rest of my life. And it's really important, so I want to get it right. There's a lot of stuff that I want to say that I have to make sure that I make it a safe space for her to know that she really is getting an apology. She really is not going to get blamed anymore. And that's a huge, big deal. Because the people, if you're having that thought about a particular person in your life, like they're not going to take it right, I know it, it's because you probably haven't really found the way to talk to them yet. And there is a way for the two of you, humans, to hear each other. We just haven't found it yet. And that's why I would never do this. I'm just telling you, you're free to do what you want and be inspired as you wish, but I would never do this without help. Especially with my parents. I would never do this without help. And I am a very strong woman. I have a lot of teaching and 15 years of learning behind me, and I don't even consider that very much. But I would never do this process without help. Somebody who knows the story intimately, and that took a whole lot to tell the story at all. I had to make a whole list of all the things that I've ever been haunted by that have either happened to me or that I've done. And so the person who's helping me talk and craft these conversations and letters to my parents is aware of all that. It's important. It's important to have the full picture. And now that I'm on the other side as a coach, what I would say is, A, definitely get a coach, and B, make sure if you're doing it on your own, that you are super clear that this is the safest possible place right now. I am coming to you energetically on my knees and humble, knowing that I owe you one of the biggest apologies of my life. Would you like to hear it? I might. I don't know about you guys. So does that come closer to clarity on that? Yes, my lady? Thank you. Good. Anything else? Please.
My question is in relation to your spouse or partner
Yeah.
or lover's family. I find, certainly if I'm dealing with my own things in my family, I feel like there's stuff that went on there too. So now I find, placing blame on my mother-in-law for maybe a way my husband is, or on my brother-in-law, or so. This to me is the most exciting place, and I will use my own example.
So I'm actually no longer married, but my ex-husband and I are best friends. And at the very beginning of our relationship, his mom, in all sorts of good faith, called me up and was like, so she's also a yoga teacher, it was so perfect. I think that we have so much to talk about in the realm of the spirit and connection. Now, mind you, this was 6 years ago or so, and I was nowhere near my heart. At that time, I was vinyasa. And slowly but surely, I ostracized her, and I said, I don't speak like that with people until some time has passed, until we're actually friends. What the fuck says that? Like, we had eloped. It was like 2 weeks later. No parents had been there. We were to our parents, it was terrible. And we had to apologize, I assure you, for all of that. But it gets better because I did not let up on this poor woman. I was preying on her insecurity, preying on the insecurity that she supposedly gave to my husband, just blaming her. It was living in me, it was giving me an ugly face. It was not working at all. And to apologize for all of that, called her up. Hi, Judy. I am so sorry for the past 4 years. I will start by saying how sorry I am that you were not at our wedding. This was already after we were broken up and friends and cool. Got to super cool. I made her brunch. The most beautiful brunch I have ever made in my life, and I am known for my brunches. Just for the two of us. There were details. It was like going to per se in my house. And I sat her down and I was able to say it to her face. It was the most beautiful privilege, the lightness that I felt after that I didn't need to run from anything after that for such a long time. That's the opportunity. So I would definitely get help to do it, but the opportunity is for you to talk to your husband and just be like, yo, I'm sorry for being such an ass, but I've been blaming your mom for you. I don't even know where to start. I am feeling so bad about all of this. I love you. I'm your lady. I want to stay with you. I definitely need to apologize to your mom for holding all this stuff against her. How do you think the best way would be to proceed and start the process? Oh my God, the opening that you will have, the opening that he will have with her, the opening that she will have with her husband if he's still alive. Is he still alive? It's going to be a total revolution in that whole sphere of people. And all the kids that come after that. That excites me. Mother-in-laws in particular. Like, it's such an opportunity. There's so much there. It's so beautiful. And email me if you need help. I'm so there. It's such an honor. Hi, Mama.
Hi, how are you?
Good to see you hiding behind the camera. I'll repeat your question so you don't have to worry.
Do you think your son is going to grow up? You asked us a question. Do you think you know your parents?
Yes.
Do you think your son's going to grow up knowing you?
Yes, for sure.
And
Here's what I do.
How do you be your true, authentic self to your kids and really let them know the way you think about things and the way you feel without teaching it to them like they're your children, but talking to them like they're just people too?
Since he was born, I speak to him like a real person. I never spoke to him like he was, anybody who knows me, I never did that. And I'm not saying that that's bad. That was never a part of what I was doing. I write him an email once a week. He has an email address on Gmail. He doesn't know about it yet. He's almost 6. I'm going to tell him he's just starting to read now, so I'm going to tell him about it next year. He gets an email once a week with the fucking raw truth. This week, I was violent with you. And I felt really ashamed about it. We talked about it at length for several days. I apologized to you. I'm praying that it's still not sitting in you. And I want you to know how bad it feels. It was how I experienced my life. And in cleaning it up with you, I get to clean it up with my dad. How beautiful is that? And I always, if the minute I am in any way, and again, this hasn't happened in a long time, but I want to make sure that I give the example so that everybody knows that they're not alone. In any way, if I am violent with him, it no longer in my hands, but if I am violent with my words, if I am violent with my face, this face is the face of my family when they get mad, and I don't want to make it anymore, I'm done. I immediately apologize. I did not mean that, Jonah. I am really sorry. That was not cool. That was not okay. Did you feel that in your body? Yes. Where did you feel it? Here and here. Okay, so I'm going to do Reiki now and on your body. And do you feel like that's an okay time, or should I wait until a little bit later? Maybe wait until later sometimes, and sometimes right then. And we never forget, and I immediately go back and repattern the whole experience in him physically. And that's been scientifically measured to actually be of value. And that's how we do it. I am always blatantly honest with him. Always. 100% if I mess up. And that's how he knows who I am. And then, you know, when we're watching Little Princess, I will cry in front of him and talk about why I'm crying. And oh my God, it's so good. And he looks at me and he's like, Mom, are you okay? And I'm just like, this is what I'm feeling right now. Do you feel it in any way? And he's like, kind of, yes. You know, I'm trying to give words to everything that I'm going through so that he can have the same option. And I think that's kind of the biggest gift that I can give to a child, mine or anybody else's. So. Anything else? One more question if we have one. What a beautiful breeze. Leslie, you want to open that window again? It's so nice now after the rain. Thanks, Mama. Pretty in pink. Hi. Thank you, please.
I wonder if you can speak to, I haven't even formed, I don't have a theory of this, but the idea of when forgiveness is actually at the core of the problem. I see it as an issue of imbalances between, whether it's, the male-female and the conflicts.
Explain more about how forgiveness could be at the core of a problem.
Right. So you're saying that forgiveness is a starting place, but my experience, I would say forgiveness has actually been something that I've had to undo.
Talk to me about the circumstances.
Do you want me to say the circumstance?
Talk to me about the circumstances so I can get an idea.
So my mother is disabled.
Yep.
And she has been, since I was around 10, diagnosed with MS. Up until then, she was an amazing person, amazing presence in my life.
Still amazing.
Still amazing. But there was a loss. There was a loss there. So there was I felt that there was, I was able to forgive. I wasn't even aware that I was forgiving as a way of covering up that loss and that sadness.
You didn't really forgive. I love you, but you didn't really forgive.
Right, but when you say, I loved my mother, I wouldn't say anything critical about her. I'm just saying that it was that initial point where you're saying that entry point, I found that was really hard for me to find.
Well, here's the thing. You might even still, and with all due respect, and please stop me anytime, you might even still be blaming the disease or her or some combination of the two, which is why you're telling me that your forgiveness is a problem. You never actually really forgave, or you wouldn't be saying what you're saying right now. It really is time for you to write a letter to MS. I forgive you for coming down on my family and turning my mother into this other human. And then you can do it for her. Is she still alive?
Yes.
Cognizant? Ish?
Yes.
Oh, do it. Do it.
Declining fast.
Yes, you get to go to her. You get to go to her. You have the honor of all honors of humankind. You get to go to your mom and tell her, you could tell her stories of how the memory that you have of her up until that time. You could tell her how sorry you are that you in any way distanced yourself from her at that time, that you in any way held blame in your space around her, whatever, however you get this thing, and start, and it will help her learn how to live with it in a different way. And you get to come back. Yeah. Forgiveness,
Thank you.
never a problem. Real forgiveness, never a problem. Real forgiveness is the balm for this world in the luck that we have to have the things that we do.
Is there a name for the thing that we call, that looks like forgiveness?
Yes, it's called lying.
What?
We think, I forgave her so long ago, I'm fine. It's like, well, why does my belly feel like that right now? It's just not forgiveness. It's, it's what we thought was forgiveness. You know when you've forgiven because your eyes light up. The space between you and the other person lights up. There is clarity, vision, love, present, palpable in the space. That's forgiveness. You know it when you have it. You will know it. I am at your service. Should you need help, at your service. And thank you, God, thank you. Let's take a seat and close our eyes. You can sit cross-legged if you feel. It's nice to start out with feet on the ground, but if you want to sit cross-legged, please don't hesitate. And close your eyes. Rest your hands with your palms facing up on either thigh if you can. It's a very sweet moment for all of us. We have standing to our right behind us, our moms, right behind you to your right. She's reaching her hand out and taking yours. She's holding space for you in the way that you wish she always could have or would have. Present, listening, honoring of your work, and you are doing all the same for her. And there she is right there with you behind you. To your left, right behind you, reaching for your hand, is your dad. Whether you knew him or not, he has you right now. They, whether they were together for any length of time, were together for this one moment, and are holding hands in honor of that and you right now, just behind you. And you get to take this time to expand your heart and your lungs out to the sides to them. And be with them. Be grateful to them and for them. Breathe with them, so that when you breathe, you expand and you can feel their bodies right behind you. And know that you are held and blessed. Take a big breath in. And just gently open your mouth and exhale. Again, big inhale. Last time, huge breath in. And just hold that breath for a moment. Bring your hands together in front of your heart. Your mom's hand is covering your right, your dad's hand is covering your left. Bring your chin to your chest and feel all three of your hands. Bring your lips to your hands. We honor our families by choosing to see differently, choosing to evolve in the most elegant ways what we know must be evolved in order for us and those we love to move forward. And gently release your hands, let them move away. And slowly, 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 keeping your chin down in your chest, open your eyes. And lift your chin. Namaste. Thank you all so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you so much.